Hello and welcome to OnSide SA. Well, it's getting nearer and nearer to the big English seasons. The championship starts this weekend. Great to get it rolling. On Saturday, we've got the Community Shield, two top sides. So we've got a lot to look forward to. Last one standing is going to start again, obviously, with the British Premier League starting. Budge, Steve and I are going to try and guide you in the right direction. Budge, what do you think?
Well, Paul, last one standing first starts next Friday.
Yes.
Yeah, Man United, Fulham, and I was a bit hesitant and stuff. I thought, you know what? Why not? Let's get it going. Yes. The guys are obviously liaise with everybody. The message has been sent out. But I look forward, and obviously the football, Paul. It's been a bit of a nightmare. I know the Olympics and the Euros have helped, but when you want to have a bet, Paul, it's terrible.
Yeah,
so this week, at least we'll get games. My boys kick off the season, so let's see what happens. Yeah.
Right, Steve, are you about?
I'm here, good morning.
Morning, Steve. And everything all right in Blighty?
Yeah, lovely. The sun is shining.
Sun is shining.
Good. The sun is shining.
Okay, well, the sun is shining on Lee Carsley. Yeah. Steve, was he the under-21 coach? Is that right?
He was, and he obviously coached and managed the team when they won the under-21 Euros last year. So he knows some of the players. And I think because England have got a couple of these Nations League games coming up fairly quickly, I think that it's probably the right decision than sort of having to rush and bring in a manager sort of straight away. So I think it's a bit of a test for him whether or not he's really in the running permanently. But I think that I don't think there should be an issue for him managing the team for those opening two games. It'd be interesting, though, whether he sort of brings any new players in or leaves any out who are in the Euro squad.
Yeah, I think the key will be tactic. Where's he going to play Foden and Bellingham? That's going to be interesting to see what he does. And does he play Anthony Gordon? And that will be interesting. I haven't seen who they are playing, but I'm sure they didn't get relegated the last competition, did they?
Yeah, they did. They did get relegated. So they're playing the Republic of Ireland and Finland.
Oh, okay.
So those are both games that they would be expected to win. And you mentioned Anthony Gordon. He played him as his out-and-out striker in the under-21s.
Oh, so he'll be starting.
And had Cole Palmer in a slightly deeper role. So it'd be interesting, whether or not he sort of adopts the same sort of tactics as he used for the under-21s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, just give him a chance, eh?
Give him a chance. What's the worst that can happen? You can't beat the Republic of Ireland. Well, then I don't know. Steve, the main transfers we'll discuss next week, but there are a couple, one for you and Paul. Scott McTominay and Fulham. I read Fulham have pulled out, is that right?
Well, I mean, it's paper talk. We don't really know.
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds like we've made 2 or 3 bids below United's valuation, but I think at this moment in time, United are going to be reluctant to let him go anywhere until they get what they consider to be an adequate replacement. I saw this morning their link with Sander Berger, who is at Burnley. Whether or not that's plays in the same sort of role. Let's see. I mean, look, I think for us, I think it would be a great acquisition.
Yes.
He's not that keen to leave. He wants to stay. But it's whether or not the powers that be at Old Trafford say, as an academy player, and they make profit on him, that he's got to go so they can fund new players.
Yeah, fund new players. Can you believe there's plenty other rubbish they can get rid of? I'd keep him if I had 20 million. If he's going for 40, at least he tries. That's one thing. And as far as Dominic Solanke, Paul, lot of talk.
It's looking good. The latest talk is that they want him. They actually, on Sky News, they're showing some of his goals.
Yeah.
He scored 19 goals last year. I didn't realise that.
A lot of goals.
Injury-free. For a tall man, he's got good feet. He's good in the carpet, and looks like he's total favourite to go. Richarlison's definitely going.
Okay.
So he's gone, and we've Solomon's up to go. They're accepting offers on him. So there are a few of them, but they have promised to try and throw a few kids in.
Steve, what amazes me is, we'll take McTominay. United won 23. If they, I think your boys offered 20. My thing is, is it 2 or 3 year payment plan for these players?
It can be whatever the clubs agree between themselves. So these sort of things are very flexible.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I mean, it's you got to have the same situation with Conor Gallagher, who didn't really want to leave Chelsea. They offered him a new contract, but shorter than they've offered other people. But they made it clear he wasn't going to fit into their into the plans the way they play. So in the end, whether he really wants to go or not, he's going to Atletico Madrid.
Yeah. See, my question was, say it's a 3-year and United want 23 and Fulham offer 20. When you see that this over the 3-year period, the difference is like $1 million.
Yeah.
And the longer United keep that going, you know, they're paying him 100 grand a week, whatever. If they keep him for another 6 months, that's a 3 million.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
I'm not sure they're paying him quite as much, but I think United were holding out for 30. I'd heard, which is why there's obviously a bit of a gap. If it was as close as 23, then I think they'd find a deal. No, it's quite likely if we get towards the end of the window, and if United do bring in or are poised to bring in somebody in his position, then I suspect there is a deal to be done. We tend to do a lot of our business in the latter part of the window anyway. And I think this is the issue at the moment. There's still 3 weeks to go. And so, there's going to be a lot of activity. Obviously, teams like Chelsea are sort of buying and selling at the moment. We know what, and they're poised to bring in another young player. They've, if you look at Chelsea's transfer sort of window, they're spending money on young players, but they're on the other hand they're moving academy players out who they make a pure profit on. So I don't think the fans are particularly enamoured with what's going on. They've let a lot of good young academy players go, and Conor Gallagher was one of the mainstays of the team last year, so it's strange tactics.
Talking about strange tactics, let's get on to the Community Shield. I just don't know what United are going to do. From what I read, there's several of the players that played in the Euros and the Copas back in training. If they don't play them, United are going to get an absolute pounding. You can't play Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Harry Maguire.
We're just talking about Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah.
There's a club looking to buy him. It might be Fulham. West Ham. I knew it was a London club. West Ham, that's right.
But he's on good money. He doesn't want to leave. Anyway, who knows?
So you think Man City are going to win?
Yeah, Steve. What have you heard as for what will the club do?
I mean, the thing is, the pre-season is sort of. I mean, both Man City and United were on US tours, but most of their, I say most, a lot of their first team squad were not available to them. For most of that time. Obviously, they were taking part in the Copa. In America, they were taking part in the Euros. And you can't even look at the results of those games they played, because they'll probably be a different team. I think will try and play as many of their first team squad who are back and are in, because otherwise I can't think either the teams can't go in to a match like the Community Shield playing their reserves. It's just a bit of a farce. So I think we'll see strong teams, but based on sort of what we've seen so far, United are still a bit of a work in progress, and you'd expect City to be favourites.
But what's interesting is this game is important because if you win it, just say Man United win it, and they run 10th, they say, hey, no, we won a trophy. We won the people always look at this as a trophy for them.
Pep got caught last year in the cup final. They were still celebrating 4 days of alcohol. They got exposed in the final. United, everything could have gone right, went right. I don't like what I see. I don't like what I hear. And Pep's going to be smarting.
5 to 10.
Haaland looks sharp in that tour. I hate to say it, boys, but I think it's going to be a long Saturday afternoon. So anyway, what can we do? Let's hope it's a close game. Steve, on to the championship, and I've been doing research upon research. When does their signing? Is it also 3 weeks' time?
Yeah, it's all the same day.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
UK, so it's and a lot of the teams there has been quite a bit of activity. Because we're not looking at lots of big money signings, but there has been quite a bit of activity of the main clubs. So they've all had a different sort of pre-season. They've not been, they've not been on sort of US or Far East tours. They've been playing a lot of sort of domestic games, and the majority of their players have been back in training. So I think most of those teams are going to hit the ground running.
Well, let's hope so. Steve, kick off Blackburn versus newly promoted Derby County. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, look, Blackburn, I suspect they might have a tricky season this season. I mean, they've sold one or two. There's a lot of players like Sammy Smodics people are after. I think that they're going to struggle a bit. I think they're looked upon as being a bit of a selling club. They sort of flattered to deceive the last couple of years. Not sure what you're going to get from Derby, but I think this could be a pretty close game, and I can't see either of those teams challenging at the end of the season. I think they're both. I think Derby will do enough to stay up. I think I look at them both and see them both sort of around about mid-table.
Yeah, I think it's a game.
A few managers lately, Derby.
Derby,
Wasn't Rooney there at some stage?
No, Rooney was there. He's gone. I'm trying to think of the guy's name that's taken over. But Steve, for me, there's normally goals, especially in the opening game Friday night. The fans will be buzzing. Blackburn don't concede many under this new manager, but they did win 3 of their last 4 games. That's what saved them in the relegation. They were under severe pressure.
Yeah. Derby
finished second behind Portsmouth, and
so what's
big
the
club.
draw?
I think this is a score draw written all over it, Steve. That's what 5-2. Now, my boys, the Invincibles, kick off against.
You're buying a player.
Preston, I saw. Well, let's see. Until we get him
in there.
Yeah, we got a few players on loan, so you never know. But Sheffield United, Steve, a lot of turmoil in that club.
There has been. I mean, they've obviously sold one or two.
Yeah.
They've got some good young players.
I know
they've just sold one, or in the process of selling one to Newcastle or Sula, but they've got some good young players who I think they started a blood last season, and they'll definitely be playing this year. Look, it's first game for both teams. I've got a feeling that Sheffield United could get something there, though. Preston will give it a go, and obviously last season they started off fantastically at home. They weren't conceding any goals, but I think this could be a tricky first game. But I can see it being very close. I can't see a lot of goals being scored somehow. Preston like to keep it tight, don't they? So I think it'll be a close game. Again, it could end up as a low-score draw for me.
Yeah, I just think that Kiefer Moore, the big Welsh centre forward, good in the air, danger man, and we woeful at the back. But Steve, we could have got relegated. It hadn't been for our first.
Was he with Bournemouth?
Kiefer Moore was at Bournemouth.
Good head on the ball.
Big lad. He'll cause us danger. I fancy them. If we can get a point, Preston, yes, but we haven't signed too many. We've got to get loan players. We were lucky that we had a great start. We lost 5 of the last 6. And we were woeful. I watched us several times, but we can get a good start. But Everton outclassed us last week, and I fear the worst for my boys this year, Steve. Hate to say it. Another team that are tipped to be struggling this year is Cardiff City, Steve. How do you see them going?
Yeah, they're a funny sort of side. I think obviously people were expecting better things from them. Yeah. But I'm not sure. I wouldn't predict them to be in the bottom sort of 3 necessarily. But I think at home they might put off a surprise. Sunderland, a sort of sleeping giant, but they struggled latter part of last season, and I can't see that they've done much in the window. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if Cardiff City upset the odds.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me whichever way it went in that particular clash. Interesting stat about Cardiff. 21 of their 53 goals were scored from set pieces.
That's interesting.
So you never know.
Must be a Welsh thing.
Could be a Welsh thing, you're right. Steve, Hull City, who fired Liam Rossinia, I still cannot believe after finishing 7th last year, against a dangerous Bristol City side. Steve, I fancy the away team. Who do you fancy though?
Yeah, I mean, look, Hull, I think that was a real surprise because Liam Rossinia had sort of really got them to the cusp of a playoff place. And I think, again, they have a little bit of a loose cannon as a chairman, but they've sold probably 2 of their best players. I mean, Philogene, who came from Villa, went back to Villa and made a profit, and Greaves has gone. So I'm, although they're shown as clear favourites, I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
So, like you, I think Bristol City could pull off a bit of an upset.
Yeah, me too. What was strange about Liam Rossinia, He was Wayne Rooney's assistant at Derby. Is that correct, Steve?
Yeah. It was, yeah, and he had a very good season last season, so it was a surprise, and I think a lot of Hull fans were slightly shocked as well. You know, they had an opportunity. They were always the underdog to get that last promotion place, and it just slipped away from playoff place, but it just slipped away from them at the end.
Yeah, they only won one of the last 8. That cost them. On to the second page, we've got favourites Leeds, Steve, against League One, or they got promoted. Portsmouth cruised in last year. Can you see an upset?
Yeah. I'd be surprised if there is. I mean, Leeds, there's been quite a bit of turnover, but they've still got a relatively strong squad. Yeah. They've sold some key players. I think they grossed about 100 million in, but they've spent a little bit, and I think they will be. They're certainly favourites with the bookies to go up this season. They they need to really, because obviously they've had to have a bit of a clear out now of some of their big money players having missed out, and I think the fans are going to demand nothing less than the top 2 places here. So for me, I think Leeds should start with a home win. Yeah,
I went Leeds to win, both teams to score. I like the look of Portsmouth. I watched them a few times last year. They cruised in League One. Was it Somerville went to West Ham and Archie Gray to Spurs?
Yes,
those are 2 big boys.
Correct, yeah.
All right, now
the 2 main ones.
A team that did great last year but had a terrible start was Michael Carrick's Middlesbrough.
Is he still there?
Still there, yeah. They've kept their centre forward. Remember that Akpom and Archer they sold? They've kept the youngster. I think they're good things, Steve. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think they'll have a better season. It was a bit of a surprise last year. They started so badly.
Yeah.
But I suspect they'll have a better season. For me, I think they're favourites will win opening day.
Yeah, I think 8 to 10 good things. Now, a team that finished as a form club in the championship last year were Millwall. They won the last 5.
Wow, that's good.
You know, against your brother's team, Watford, Steve, I expect a tight encounter. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it will be, but I fancy Millwall. I think they're going to have a decent season. They've a little bit of activity in the transfer window, and I think they could. I mean, Watford, possibly could lose one of their star players. It doesn't look like the Potsy family want to put much money in at the moment. Yeah. Although, you think they would want to back the new manager, Tom Cleverley, but I've got a feeling opening day, I fancy Millwall.
Yeah, tight game. Wouldn't surprise me. 1-0 to the Millwall. Now, Oxford, who came up via the playoffs in League One against a Norwich City team who fired their manager after they got obliterated in the playoffs. How do you see it, Steve?
Yeah, I think this is. It's a big game for Oxford. Obviously, first time up in the second tier for some time. I've just got a feeling Norwich would be too strong. I think that they've still got the nucleus of a decent side, and I fancy them to get an away win on opening day.
Stevie, of Oxford, what is their nickname?
Well, it was the O's and the U's, wasn't it?
Yeah, it used to be the U's. Yeah.
I think they played in yellow or something like that. Weren't they called the Yellows?
They definitely play in yellow, and I was wondering if they used anything to Oxford because of the area. The U's. Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, the U's of us are going on to the final page in the championship, and it's QPR West Brom. This should be a good game, Steve.
This trails this team.
I think it will be. I mean, West Brom are still under a bit of a transfer embargo because of some perceived financial irregularities. So I'm not sure they're going to be sort of running away with the league this year. I think that the fans are pretty disappointed with what's going on there. QPR may have obviously had a disastrous start to the season but finish strong, and I wonder whether or not they might carry on like that. Neither team have been active in the transfer market particularly. So I could see maybe teams cancelling each other out. I think it could be an entertaining game though.
Yeah, 1-0. Carlos Corberan, he's the top manager in that. He was the bucket man of Leeds' assistant. Yeah. He's won 50% of his matches he's been in the championship. So interesting stat.
That's all.
50% in a championship. It's not bad.
What did Ipswich and Leicester win more than that?
Yeah, but he's been there 2 years in the championship. Leicester in and out.
Okay.
But so interesting when I saw that. But I like QPR. I agree with you, Steve, of the two teams. Stoke City, who I can never catch against a Coventry City team who could have stuck Man United out the semi-final of the FA Cup. They went missing towards the end.
Yes.
But this should be another good game, Steve. I think there'll be a few goals in this.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, Coventry were starting to sort of go in the league, but after that sort of match against United, it all went sort of pear-shaped for them in the league. They've lost one or two players. Callum O'Hare, who let his contract run out, was obviously a bit of a playmaker for them. But Stoke, as you say, you're never quite sure what you're going to get from them. So I think this could be an entertaining game, and I think there will be goals, but I don't think you can... it's not easy to choose a winner there.
Yeah, 8-10, both teams to score. Looks
We'll know
lightly
more next
played.
week.
Yeah, you're right, yeah. Steve, last two games, Sheffield Wednesday against Wayne Rooney's Plymouth Argyle. I'm all over the home team here, Steve. How do you see it?
Yeah, I think that they certainly should start as favourites. They had a decent sort of end to the season last season, and I think that Plymouth were not so strong away from home. It's going to be very interesting to see how Wayne Rooney does after his disaster at Birmingham. So I think he'll be determined to maybe make a mark or two there. But I think Sheffield Wednesday should be too strong at home.
Yeah, I agree. And last but not least, the big game of the championship this weekend are the two relegation sides. Luton Town against Burnley, Steve. How do you see it?
Who's got the
Yeah,
Burnley
I
job?
think you're right. I think it will be a good game. Obviously, both have lost a few players.
Yeah.
Burnley have got a new manager in Scott Parker, so it'll be interesting to see how he does. But it will be interesting because obviously I think both teams are expected to do well. I think Burnley are probably favourites to go back up compared to Luton. So I think they've lost one or two players. But, I think this is going to be an interesting test. I can see both of these teams in the top six, clearly, because they with the parachute money, they don't have to sell everybody. But I think this will be a close game. Luton, I think, might start as favourites at home. They made themselves hard to beat. They did concede goals, but they haven't. So they've kept most of the squad intact. Obviously, Ross Barkley has left them, who has obviously had a standout season, but they've kept a lot of the team intact.
Steve, good things, Luton Town. We'll have it on Monday night, yeah. I'm all over them. Yeah, that Adebayor up front.
They lost Ross Barkley.
They lost Ross Barkley. That's the only real major player they've done. Burnley, top-heavy squad, you never know. I'm not in love with Scott Parker. I know he did take Bournemouth and Fulham up, but those were two quality teams. So I'm all over Luton in this particular game. On to Scotland. I actually watched a couple of the games last week, Steve, and the first game up, we've got Aberdeen versus St Mirren. How do you see it? Yeah,
I fancy Aberdeen. They had a good win on Monday night, and I think that they may have a reasonable season. So I'm going to go with the Dons.
Totally agree, Steve. I couldn't believe last night when I was checking the betting, because obviously we have to get the odds in early. They are shade under even money. I think they're absolute certainties. I watched the game because we had a bet going through over 2.5 goals against St Johnstone. They missed 3 runaways in the first half. They played great. St Mirren, they did beat Hibs, but Hibs are struggling. And 8-10, well, it's actually even money this morning. I looked Aberdeen. Good things to me.
Aberdeen, yeah.
Rangers against Motherwell. Steve, Rangers played in Champions League at midweek, got a great result, drawing 1-1 with Dynamo Kiev in Poland. Surely they've got to beat Motherwell.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, they'll be disappointed that they started off being with a draw at Hearts, but I think they'll be too strong. I think they'll win that game.
Yeah, I missed the first part, and I watched the last, but they were hanging on at the death, Rangers, but according to all the stats, they should have won. Ross County, Steve, against Dundee United. Unfortunately, it wasn't on last week, the Dundee derby. 2-2, apparently it was a cracker, but Ross County drew 0-0 at Motherwell. I'm all over Ross County here. What's your call?
Yeah, I think so. I think at home they might just be a little bit too strong.
Yeah, 13-10 is in my bets. On to our second page, we've got Dundee versus Hearts. How do you see it?
Yeah, I was impressed with Hearts. I thought they gave Rangers a good game.
Yeah.
I think for me, if there was to be a winner, I think Hearts could just pinch it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Celtic should be too good for Hibs on Sunday.
4-10.
Yeah, I would expect so. They won comfortably at the weekend, and I think that obviously Hibs will try and raise their game, but I think Celtic should be too strong.
Yeah, it was 4-1, over 2.5 goals. Both teams to score. No, we got the money last week in that bet. Casper Schmeichel's got them wound up at the back. He's giving those centre halves abuse like you cannot believe. I think they'll destroy Hibs again. And last but not least, Kilmarnock versus St Johnstone. How do you see it?
Yeah, I know Kilmarnock obviously got beaten comfortably by Celtic, but at home they'll be stronger, and I expect them to beat St Johnstone.
Yeah, I've got to agree there. I think there'll be goals that St Johnstone did pose a threat against Aberdeen, especially late on. Steve, pressure time again, first week of the new season. Who are you going for?
I might go into Scotland and go for Aberdeen. I think they're for me. I think they're should win clearly. And away, I'm going to go for Bristol City.
Jeez,
I just think that
collusion.
For me, those odds just seem sort of fairly generous against a whole team. You're not sure what you're going to get this year.
Steve, I know I'm going to get a reply from Paul. I say great minds think alike.
Collusion. Fools never differ. Collusion.
Yeah. Just so that the prices totally agree. The first week's always tricky. There's always an upset or two, but I said I like Bristol City, and with can you imagine being in that whole change room? Everything's going well, good manager, everyone's happy, and all of a sudden owner comes in. End of the manager, people are looking around
he
and
sacks the manager and sells their two best players.
Yeah, well, you never know. You never know. He's a Greek owner, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Greek or Turkish?
One of the two.
I can't remember now. So,
Steve, thanks again, and we'll no doubt speak over the weekend. And remember, last one standing, anybody but Spurs, first round. Eh?
Anybody but Spurs.
All right, Steve.
Well, actually, I think a lot of people will be on Spurs in the first round.
Yeah, including me.
Monday night.
All the best, Steve.
Yeah.
Steve, speak over the weekend. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. MTN8 quarter-final
Paul, I watched both games.
Did you?
Geez, Pirates. Gavin got sent off after the third goal. He thought it was offside, but I watched it again. It wasn't. Good game, Paul. The game changed when Bradley Krobler came off.
Yeah.
He's like Rassie, one of our mates. At the far post, he wins everything. Got to 1-1. Pilots played great.
Yeah,
I think that coach, they've got a couple of youngsters, Paul.
Good side.
These guys can play like the Morocco Swallows and Ide. Ace Manini and Thomas Longwani and all those guys, but geez, they can play. It was a good game, Paul. Stellenbosch went 1-0 down. They had a few good chances, and then they got caught. But they came back, equalised, 2-1 up, 3-1 going away. 2 comfortable victories, Paul.
Okay, let's have a look at the other quarterfinals.
Paul, just hope the games are as open. Somehow I don't think Sekhukhune, they're more defensive orientated. Of the two sides, I like Cape Town City, Paul, but the draw is definitely a player in that particular game. And I'm all over Sundowns, Paul. I think it was even money them to win by more than 1 goal. Polokwane always give them a hard game, but Sundowns are a top team there.
Where did they play out of?
Polokwane's in... Sundowns, Attridgeville. Well, it's Lucas Maripi Stadium, Pretoria. So Sundowns put all their boys that played in the AFCON and all that. They've plenty of time to recover. So 4-10, Paul, good things.
Okay, but let's look at your bets. That's where the interest is.
Well, we'll get the soccer exotics up first. And first one, I'm going the field in the Sekhukhune United Cape Town City clash. I've got a chance, had to find a banker, so I'm going for Man City to beat Man United. Dortmund, they're playing at home against Aston Villa, so I'm going with Dortmund to be too good there. I'm going Everton win and draw at home against Roma, another friendly. As long as RB Leipzig win and draw at home against Paris Saint-Germain. And the field in the Tottenham Bayern Munich game.
Where do they play?
That's in London this weekend, 2-1-6. Surprised you haven't got a ticket for it.
2-1 in Germany.
2-1, yeah. So, it could go either way. Harry Kane, I think, will be playing. So, that's there. On to our second soccer six. I'm going Brighton win and draw at home against Villarreal. Lens to avoid defeat at home against Leicester City. As long as West Ham United win and draw at home against Celta Vigo. I'm siding with 20 to avoid defeat at NEC Nijmegen and chancing AZ Alkmaar to win at Almere City, and Hamburg SV win and draw against Hertha Berlin in the Bundesliga 2, 192 Rand. On to the soccer 10, I'm going Sunderland win and draw against Cardiff City, and Bristol City win and draw at Hull City. 2 bankers going for Leeds United to beat Portsmouth and Middlesbrough to beat Swansea City. Going with Millwall, win and draw at home against local rivals Watford. On to the second page, I don't see Norwich City losing at newly promoted Queen's Park Rangers, and going with Queen's Park Rangers. Win and draw at home against West Brom, and Stoke City win and draw at home against Coventry City. Bankering Birmingham City to get off to a good start in the League One game against Reading, and siding with Wigan Athletic, win and draw at home against Charlton Athletic in another League One game, R256. On to the Soccer 13, which is a mystery. I'm going Man City to beat Man United and IFK Gothenburg to beat IFK Vernamo. Looking for the upset, Viking FK win and draw against Champions League hopefuls Boda Glint. Going with Haugesund, win and draw at home against Hammark Kameratine. And Bristol Rovers, win and draw at home against Northampton Town. Two away bankers, Lincoln City to beat Burton, Albion and Blackpool to win at Crawley Town. On to our second page, going with Rotherham United, who got relegated to avoid defeat at Exeter City, and going with Bolton Wanderers, who lost in the playoff final to be too good for Leyton Orient. Going with relegated Huddersfield Town to avoid defeat at Peterborough, and Stockport County, who got promoted to be too good at home against Cambridge United. Wigan Athletic win and draw against Wycombe Wanderers, and newly promoted Wrexham win and draw at home against Wycombe Wanderers, 256. On to our budgies bets for the weekend.
The best.
I'm going Leeds United to beat Portsmouth and both teams to score yes. Then I'm going Middlesbrough to beat Swansea City and Luton Town to beat Burnley, 2,600 to 200. My team goal sides are Leeds United, Middlesbrough, Sheffield Wednesday and Luton Town, all to score over 1.5 goals, 2,200 to 200. My both teams to score sides are Blackburn Derby County, Hull City Bristol City, QPR West Brom and Stoke City Coventry City, 2,100 to 200. On to Scotland, I'm going over 2.5 goals, both teams to score no. In the Hibs Celtic game, that's Celtic to win 3-0, 4-0.
What happens if Hibs win 3-0?
Well, then we still get the money.
Yes,
that
so
still goes through.
Didn't score, yeah.
And I'm going Ross County to beat Dundee United, and both teams to score Kilmarnock and Johnson, 5,200 to 200. On to Sweden, where I'm going Norrköping to beat Västerås, Hammarby to beat Brommapojkarna, and both teams to score in the Halmstad, Malmö and ARK Stockholm and Jalby games, 3,400 to 200. Collis King, 6 on extra. I'm going Middlesbrough to beat Swansea, Luton to beat Burnley, Birmingham City to beat Reading, Celtic to beat Hibernian, Hammarby to beat Brommapojkarna, and Sundowns to beat Polokwane City, 6,000 to 200. Some good prices, Paul.
Good odds there. Well, Budge, that wraps it up. Don't forget, last one standing is starting next Friday, which is 8 days' time if you're watching it on a Thursday. It's the Man United hosting Fulham, and obviously we've got all the weekend games, including including Tottenham Hotspurs playing away. That's on the Monday against Leicester. So those are the games that'll start us off. But Budge, it's good to get rolling. Yeah. We've got the Community Shield, we've got the Championship.
Well, now we can watch the games, Paul, and there's meaning on it.
Yeah, I see that.
That's a good thing, yeah.
All right, until next time, stay on side.